Select Board meeting to order for Monday, August 21st. Please join me for pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We had an appointment with Scanlon Associates for 5:35. That actually has been postponed,
Till September 18th.
September 18th.
And also Dave DeRocher has been moved to September 5th.
So, September 5th. Okay. All right. Well, while we move forward with, I don't have any citizen participation either. So, town administrator, we
Yep.
have Dufresne Rentals.
Yes, I have just two, one for September 12th, 2023 from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. And it's for the bathrooms in the cross-country field course. It's for the Granby Public Schools. And they would be just paying the $80 as a nonprofit and part of the town thing. And they also have another one on October 3rd. From 2 to 7 p.m. also. Same things, just the bathrooms and the cross-country course.
Okay.
The only correspondence that came in was the Board of Health minutes. And I don't have anything else.
How about moving on to departmental reports?
I'll make a motion to approve departmental reports.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Is there any further discussion this time? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Move right along. We have approved and signed maintenance warrants.
I will make a motion to approve payroll warrant, number 20, fiscal year 24, number 11, in the amount of $464,181.85. And this is dated October 15th, 2023.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion?
Nope.
I will abstain from the selectmen's salaries and the teacher salaries.
Anybody else?
Nope.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Good. And Rick and I were voting due to the selectmen's salaries based on necessity. That's it.
Yeah, just one.
We had a meeting last week, so we're
Yeah.
ahead of things. Moving right along, approved minutes.
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve the September 19th, 2022 Select Board meeting.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion on that? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you.
And these we only need one copy signed?
Yep.
Right, okay.
I only need that because it had to go to, for the bylaw
Okay.
to the state.
Next, I'll make a motion to approve our August 14th, 2023 meeting minutes.
No second?
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? That's it. Actually, we have our 5:45 appointment. Actually, a little early, so we'll actually just wait. We have, next is to affirm appointments for the Finance Committee. We should have 2, correct?
Yep.
So, for the Finance Committee, we had 3 applicants, but we can only appoint 2. So we have for the Finance Committee, Robert Glessman, who would expire 6/30/2026, John Libera, also expiring 6/30/2026, and Jennifer Silver, 6/30/2026 as well, and we can only appoint 2 of them.
Any recommendations from the board?
I'd like to see Mr. Glassman and Mr. Rivera reappointed.
I will second, is that a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. I will second the motion for having Robert Glessman and John Libera appointed to the Finance Committee expiring 6/30/2026.
You second it?
Yep.
Okay, any further discussion?
No.
Anyone? I don't have any more.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We have the proposed prices for the bulky waste day.
And I talked to Dave, and he said that September 30th, from 9 to noon, would fit in schedule for people working and to have that bulky waste day. And it would be before the yard waste day, by the way.
So September 30th will be the day?
Mhm.
September 30th, did Dave come up with times yet?
It's 9 to noon.
9 to noon?
Mhm.
The only thing I wasn't seeing on our bulky waste fee slip was paint.
We
Can
don't
they not
take paint.
Okay, so they can't dispose of paint
No.
here? Okay,
Nope, that would be hazardous waste day,
okay,
which is through the Board of Health.
okay. Because it was underneath the other ones
Right,
that
yeah.
were here, but that was just to give us a comparison for the
Yeah.
cost. Okay.
Can we reach out to Dave? I'm just wondering, is there something maybe we can do 8 to noon?
I can ask him.
Yeah, it just seems like 3 hours is rather quick.
Yep.
And I know I've been there before, and then sometimes that line out there gets a little long. So maybe we can give the residents an extra hour.
All right. I will ask him, and then if he says yes, I will put it up on the website tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
And Dave wants them to come in from West Street,
West Street side.
and they have to have a check, right? No cash?
Yes, check, and it's written out the town of Granby.
Okay. So comparing all the prices, everything matches the other transfer stations and what they're charging. Just the tractor tires, they have it as tractor trailer tire and then equipment tire. There's a huge difference between the two.
Right.
So I think the last time we talked about it, didn't we say we were gonna set a certain size limit on the tire, or?
And I asked Chris that. He didn't give me any more
Okay.
information, so it's up to you guys whether you want to.
There's a-
Okay.
Depending on a tractor, there's a big difference between a
Yeah.
tractor tire and a tractor trailer tire. There's a big difference, and just
So you
based
want me
on.
to change it to a certain, you tell me what size, and I can add.
Because even like the cost is a big difference. $445 difference between a tractor-trailer tire and an equipment tire. And like you said, if you go on the next one, Glenn, for what the other transfer stations are charging. So everything else matches up for our car tires and our truck tires with or without rims, but the tractor-trailer tire, like you're saying, there's a big difference in size between that and an equipment tire. So
I don't know what equipment tire is.
I don't either, to be honest.
is that like a loader tire or probably a heavy machinery, but I don't.
That's all I can imagine, if it's like even
We
you
don't,
know,
yeah.
a large, very the oversized.
Are
Dave
they
always
tractor
says he
Yeah,
ends up,
they make 'em, yeah.
I suppose I could ask Dave to call, is it Rutgers? I think that's.
Rookies.
Rookies, thank you. Rookies is where
Yeah,
he brings them, so.
Even your smaller tractors, tires are larger than a tractor trailer tire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. So I'll talk to Dave about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we'll be able to review it on the 5th at our meeting
Right.
before everything goes out.
Right, what defines a equipment tire, size-wise,
Yeah.
like you said, 'cause
Okay.
it's a big difference.
I'd be curious to know how many came in.
It's all
We're not a big farming community yet.
No, but I can imagine like the equipment tires, so those, the big payloaders and stuff like that, where, you know, the tires.
Yeah, I know they're huge, yeah.
That wide.
Yeah.
That's all I can imagine, what else the equipment tire.
So everything else looked good, but you want us to wait until we get the definition of.
Yeah, I'll add it
Okay.
back on for the 5th.
Yeah. We approve and sign the MOU for shared conservation agent.
So all my questions were answered the last time that we looked over this, so I will make a motion to approve the, as it says in the paperwork, the HG, Shared Conservation Agent Stormwater Coordinator for Hadley and Granby.
Hamden.
Or Hamden, sorry, yes, thank you. Hamden and Granby. So I'll make a motion to approve it.
For a second.
I will second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
You guys
Anybody
just have to
opposed?
give permission for Glenn to sign it.
Okay. So I will make a motion to give Glenn permission to sign it on behalf of the select board.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
And so now that both towns have agreed upon it, now it gets posted?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll scan that copy to them tomorrow, so.
Okay.
We approve and sign the proclamation for Constitutional Week.
So Town of Granby Proclamation Constitution Week, September 17th through the 23rd, 2023. So, whereas the Constitution of the United States of America, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principles of limited government and a republic dedicated to rule by law, and whereas September 17th, 2023 marks the 236th anniversary of the framing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary and to the patriotic celebration which will commemorate it, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designated September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, we, by virtue of the authority vested in us as a Select Board of the Town of Granby in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties.
Well done. Second.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So we have on our agenda for 5:45, Michael Slater and Veteran Services.
Did Chris give you guys a copy of this proposal?
Yes.
Do we have to, is it here?
Yes.
Yes. Yes and yes.
All right, perfect. Come on up, bud. So I'm Mike Slater, current Director of South Hadley Veteran Services. I was a prior VSO here for the town of Granby. And we're here tonight, myself and Jesus Pereira, who's the Director in Holyoke, to talk about the proposed district that we're looking to build here in Western Mass, and the benefits that that would have to Granby compared to the current veteran services in Granby. So that's why we're here. You guys have any broad questions before we kind of... So one of the issues that we see with Granby and Veteran Services is that the Chapter 115, which is the mandated work by the state, is very limited. Like currently there's 2 clients on Chapter 115 here in Granby. But the real benefit now that a lot of people are being income driven out of Chapter 115 is VA work. But to do VA work, you have to be accredited. You have to have so many hours of work per year to stay accredited. And under Granby's current model, that's not possible. So like Dave Mendoza, the current VSO, could never get VA accredited just working here because he doesn't work enough hours for accreditation. But just some of the numbers. So right now, when you look at the VA awards, Granby is currently pulling in from the VA and the federal government $201,000 a month. When you look at the census and the VA or the census data for veteran population, there's the ability to look at service connecting or finding another benefit through the VA for 210 more residents that are veterans identified. Doesn't include like spouses and things like that because there's a lot of carryover benefits. So like there's a potential to bring in another $330,000 a month here to Granby. This proposal is a district built with 5 communities to start. My community, South Hadley, Jesus is in Holyoke, Granby, Hadley, and Amherst. Those are our 5 target communities for this district. This model is different than any of the current ones here in Western Mass because the focus is VA accreditation. Every employee of the district, the goal is to start with 4, would all be completely VA accredited with VBMS direct access, and we could prioritize the veterans within those communities.
Sure. So a little background with the city of Holyoke. I've been with Holyoke for about 7 years now. When I came into the position, we had myself as the director, a deputy director, and a clerk. After some analytics that we've done in the office, we realized that it wasn't best suiting the needs of the veterans in the city. At the time, we had about 75 families on the Chapter 115 program. We were putting out roughly $400,000 a year in that program. Through accreditation with the VA, so everyone in my office is currently accredited with the VA. 2 of us have access to VA data, so we log into the VA system, we watch claims as they're being developed, look at people's healthcare information to help them file claims. We're able to reduce the number from 75 families to about 23. So currently we put out about $180,000 a year in VA or in Chapter 115 benefits. And so what's happening is that most of the awards that some of these families are receiving average about $1,500 a month. If they happen to be 100% service connected, then that family now receives $4,000 a month of tax-free income. And on top of that, they'll get a state annuity and some other benefits that sort of helps them out. But that's money that they're spending back in the community, they're paying their taxes with it, and they're no longer on our rolls on Chapter 115. So currently, we have myself as a director, I'm a national service officer. We have a position that is for just a national service officer, and that's someone has about 10 years tenure in the position. And then we have a Chapter 115 investigator, and that's how our office makeup currently is. So we have 3 FTEs. Being part of the district would give you access to 3 FTEs, actually 4 if the mic comes on. And that's labor hours that you currently don't have. But the opportunity for us to also engage in your community is actually broadened because we have the availability of, roughly 100 and some odd, labor hours per week.
And with that model, it would give Granby veterans and surviving spouse, anyone who's eligible, the ability to contact an office 5 days a week. Currently, I believe Dave, and he was going to be here tonight.
He's right
He's
behind
right
us.
behind you.
Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snuck in,
Awesome.
we weren't looking.
It's 6 hours a week, right? No? Is that what you're at? Yeah, so Dave's currently 6 hours a week. So if you call and it's not Dave's 6 hours, then he's got a choice to make. Does he either give free time to the town, or does that veteran or surviving spouse have to wait X amount of time to contact or to be recontacted by Veteran Services, which can create quite the backlog of work, especially when things like the PACT Act happen. And now you have this broad accessibility to the system, or people who had recently been denied can come back to the table and look to be re-evaluated and re-service connected. So that's really the biggest benefit to Granby is the VA side of things.
So what happens to the VSOs?
So the VSOs would be consolidated under one office,
Okay.
under a host community, which we're currently negotiating. Ideally, it would be Holyoke or South Hadley. That would take on that work of administrating all the IT support, HR support, all of that stuff would come from either Holyoke or South Hadley right now. Those are probably the prime 2 of these 5. So basically, Granby would pay a bill to South Hadley for access to a veteran service office that's staffed 5 days a week, that their clients would have access to. We would look to do continued home visit appointments for anybody who could not physically get to the office. If we locate the office in South Hadley, that will be the home office of Granby, South Hadley, Holyoke, with the ability to move into those communities satellite-wise for appointments that people can't. Like if they could get here, we could meet them here, or we could meet them in their home. But ideally, they would come to the main hub.
Sure. And our office is set up to be totally remote. It predates COVID. I believe in technology. I'm in that world. I grew up. I'm a Nintendo kid, so we do everything. We have just our laptops. We can show up anywhere, have things digitally signed, and with a push of a button, have it directly at the VA. We don't fax anything. We don't email anything. It's all done directly through a platform.
That was one of Chris's questions, was whether you were going to have physical hours here.
So we
for-
would have, because it's so close to South Hadley, we would establish this is how we look at the other communities too, like a certain day of the week that we would have access to a confidential space that we could meet with veterans. So if they needed to be met here in Granby, then that would be a scheduled. Whereas like Hadley and Amherst, if they come on board, there will more than likely be 2 days a month where one of our employees is physically there because the distance from the home office is greater. But we would be able to support appointments as long as we can secure that confidential space for that 1 day a week. We might not.
Yeah, and those details can be written out in the intermunicipal agreement.
Right.
Each community can come out with their needs and what they're asking for. The difference, I would say now, is that if a veteran from Granby came to me in Holyoke and said, hey, I need help with either Chapter 115 or VA, I'm going to have to turn them back to Granby. Although I have all the capacity in the world to help them, I'm getting paid by the town of Holyoke or the city of Holyoke to work for them. So I unfortunately have to turn people back to the municipalities to get services where, where they live.
And like you said, right now, we can't access that because
So
our
it's-
VSO is not credited. Is that what you're saying?
So you couldn't access our office because
Okay.
we're municipal employees.
Right.
It's like you calling the Holyoke Fire Department to come respond to a fire. Without an intermunicipal agreement, they wouldn't, right? Or some sort of emergency agreement. And your current VSO unfortunately doesn't have enough hours per year
Okay.
to maintain accreditation with any, well, at least the National Association of County Veteran Service Officers, which I'm an instructor for them as well. Some other organizations may have more lenient requirements, but we require 2,000 hours a year.
Okay.
So we wouldn't, the veterans in Granby wouldn't lose any services, they're actually gaining services?
They would gain a higher level of access to services and more services than that they currently can through this agreement.
So with those extra services in the community group like that, the price tag for us,
It goes up a little bit.
how much is a little bit?
So if you look at toward the back, these are proposed numbers right now. They're not rock solid. We have to do an analysis of like what the actual admin cost is to a host community to finalize them. So for Granby, right now, administratively you've budgeted $23,000.
Can we get page for it?
Page 8.
Got it.
All right. So with that, with adding these FTEs and everything and the access to the service, and again, these are not rock solid numbers. They're close, but they're not exact. You guys would go up to $32,297. This assessment is based on veteran population versus most districts right now do it on total population. And that's why if you look at the Amherst column, they go from,
No, we're not on the same page here.
oh, we're
It's
not?
page 9.
Oh, is it not?
Yeah.
Oh, it's 8 on
No,
mine.
Okay, I got you now.
Literally, we're on the same page.
I mean, mine says 8. I hope that yours does too. I have a color one too, if that helps. I got an extra one. So Amherst goes down drastically because their overall population's over 40,000. There's only 444 vets that live in Amherst that are census identified veterans. And that's where this billing is slightly different compared to if we were to go by total population.
Right, so the assessments are based off the total, the total cost of all the employees, including healthcare, all the numbers that come with having an employee. And then we divide all of those personal services by the number of veterans per town. So if we have X amount of veterans, each community will pay a portion of that based off the percentage that they hold in the whole district. And of course, if you have a community who doesn't participate, everyone else's assessment goes up.
And how many veterans do we have here?
So if you go to page,
4?
yeah, no, page,
So that's 338.
page 3. Yeah, so you have a total population of 6,055 with a veteran population of 338.
Now, that last column, is that for the percentage of veterans that are impoverished? Or
Total population.
Total
Total,
Yeah,
okay,
and this is based off your, the last census. That was.
okay.
Okay.
Now, of the 338 veterans, do we know how many of them are impoverished or need your services as we stand right now?
Well, we could get some numbers, and we don't have the exact number of how many of those are impoverished, but out of all of them, you only have, what, 2 cases?
2,
Three in.
current 115.
That are on Chapter 115, which is a public assistance program. So Part 1, Title 17 of the Mass General Law is
Yeah.
public assistance. Chapter 115 is just one specific for
For
veterans.
the veterans?
Yeah.
Okay.
But out of those, you have 128 that are receiving a VA award, averaging about 1,500. So there's potentially another 200 or so claimants that we can get in there. But additionally, it's a day in and day out assistance. So when someone comes in and they need assistance filing for a new social security card and need some help from the Veterans Service Department or food or housing issue. In Holyoke, we obviously deal with a lot of indigent families. Homelessness is something that we deal with quite a bit. Emergencies is something we deal with quite a bit, and we connect it with resources. Mike is fabulous with reaching out to different nonprofits and securing funding from other alternative locations for the needs of this community as well.
And just one thing to think about, like with number-wise. So recently, one of the clients in Granby just fell off, but he fell off because he was service-connected. So then there was the removal of municipal funding, because 115 is a dollar-for-dollar program. So every one of these clients, we get $1 from the VA, that's one less dollar that comes out of Granby. And then when you think bigger umbrella of benefit, every service connection comes with a property tax exemption. From 0 to, or 10 to 90%, right now it's currently $400 a year off. Or 100% service connection is $1,000 a year off of property tax. At 100% service connection, you get a $2,000 a year annuity from the state paid directly to the veteran and the family. A lot of those benefits at those levels carry over. If the veteran passes away, we connect the spouse to the benefit, and then those benefits continue to come through. With the property tax exemption, all but 125 of that is borne by the state. $125 of each property tax exemption is borne by the community. The other one, the rest comes from the state, so back into Granby, that route. Checking other, healthcare, just connecting them to healthcare through the VA, again, reduces the cost with the 115, because now we're not reimbursing, even if they're not completely off of 115 with their cash amount. If they're being seen at the VA, there's no medical reimbursement for that, for the most part. There are some that do come with it, but we've eliminated that medical expense.
Yeah, and the benefit to some families, once a family member becomes service connected or get a disability from the VA, those terms are synonymous, is that now they're eligible for VA healthcare. And once they have VA healthcare, then the cost of healthcare now comes off of the community or off the state to the federal government, which is a huge win for us in Holyoke. That's sort of how we gotten to save a lot of money. Because now, for instance, once you're VA health eligible, glasses are free for the rest of your life. And any hearing aids are free for the rest of your life. If you're being treated for one of your injuries, it's free. The VA covers all of that. And they have really modest co-pays for things that are not. And that all scales. The higher disabled you are, the less you pay out of pocket.
My father received a lot of those benefits. He's a veteran.
It's a big deal. It's my only healthcare, to be honest with you. So it don't cost the city too much money in healthcare.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same for me, like, and that was one of the selling points in South Hadley was, I will never cost the town of South Hadley a dime for health insurance, or dental insurance, or any of that stuff. So even then, like, if you look at the veteran population that works for a community, they gain access to us too, and if we can offset those costs. Again, the ability to wrap around all these different financial numbers to the benefit of the communities is huge, but all of that work comes from the VA side of the house. 115 there's a lot of offices that don't do any VA work because it's more work and it's harder, and they'd rather just do the 115 and coast along. But I get phone calls, just like Jesus does, constantly from other communities, like, hey, you do VA claims, I want to come. Well, you can't. And so this is also a push to kind of show the state how veteran services should be done. It shouldn't be like we're just checking the block, because we're not saving anybody money. We're not saving the state money, we're not saving the community money, we're just spending it. Whereas if bringing in the federal money reduces it at the state level, the community level, and it's really a great way to go about doing what we do. So if you're going to have a VSO, it should be a VA accredited one. Part of our mandate is that we find alternative income. But if you're not doing VA claims, you're not finding much of it.
Does anywhere in the state, in the Commonwealth, do they do shared services like this?
Yeah. So Northampton has a district of 12 communities.
Okay.
I just dissolved the East Hampton South Hadley district because it was quite dysfunctional. Granby used to be a part of that district. When the VSO who retired from there, John O'Connor, left, Granby separated themselves. They went with, was it John Mitchell, the fire chief at the time, was the VSO. When he left, I came in. I tried to bring Granby back into the district. It was something that they were up for, but the other communities didn't want anything to do with it. So that's where we're looking at, like, how do we spread the cost, but also spread the services to these other ones. But there are several districts throughout Massachusetts right now.
And just from my point of view, I've been a one-person office, and now I'm in an office of 3. The biggest challenge with single office VSO offices is that person goes out to lunch or they're out on training. There's no one else to cover down. Yep. And then maintaining proficiency in not only Chapter 115 and 38 CFR and Social Security work and HUD-VASH work, it's just impossible. So we have really separated and cross-trained in our office for all those different services. We have a pretty healthy training budget for all our CEUs, which we must maintain. And all of us in the office are accredited with the VA. It's just the investment for a small town to do that is quite significant for one individual. And if you try to hire more people, it's a much larger expense. where are we coming to the table with 3 full-time employees, and then with Mike, it'll be 4.
So we're going from having someone 6 hours a week to having
Access.
4 full-time employees.
140 labor hours a week.
So that people, veterans, can reach out to.
Right, and in either case, they can either come to wherever the host community is, or we set out blocks of time in your community to be here for them.
Okay.
Or we can do home visits. We travel quite a bit. I go up to the veterans home, formerly the soldiers home, and meet with veterans there who are looking to file claims to sort of augment their income. We do a lot of traveling.
And I started this job right when the pandemic shut down every municipality, so my entire first office was a backpack. It was a laptop, a pocket scanner, and we literally I went, even when I was covering here, to doing home visits here in Granby with people, and South Hadley, East Hampton, all that, because you can bring them into a building. So when it comes to accessibility, we are probably the most accessible model that the state has right now.
Well, I mean, it sounds like it makes sense. It just does, where we're able to provide more services, or the availability for more services are there for the people, just versus the 6 hours a week where someone could pick up a phone and kind of have the answers. Not to say that they wouldn't get those now, because I feel that he would probably work on his own time.
He would. Dave's amazing.
So,
And Jeff.
but I think to me it makes sense. Any additional services or make things easier for our veterans to obtain information or needed tools to access other things. It just makes sense.
Sure, and then, it also includes surviving spouses and qualifying dependents, so we're there for them too.
What's the plan of reaching out to the 210?
And 10.
So we have a couple of different things that we've been looking at. One would be a mailer that would go out. 2 would be that we would attend large-scale Granby events, say like charter days. We would set up a tent at charter days, and people would be able to come, or any other like Granby-centric. And then the third option would be a veteran town hall, where we would post it, we would push that information out, and we would have a centralized location just to get everybody on the same base if they can be there. But we would do a mailing to every veteran that's census registered here in Granby, and work with the clerk's office and with the assessor, because they usually, when it comes to the tax exemptions, know where those people are. So that's part of it too, is really to hit the ground and make sure people know that these services are out here. Even I've been doing this for 4 years now, and there are still people who just don't have a clue, even the ones that are on benefits, of all the things that come with those benefits.
Right.
So it's all about the educating them and finding them. But that takes work too. And when, like Jesus had said, with a one-person office, it's really hard to be like out and really digging up people to try to find them. So.
Any other questions? Crystal?
No, I was just looking at page 6 of the document, and over the 7 years, it looks like Hoyoke did a great job at reaching out to their veterans in this
Yeah, so
model.
that's one bar graph that I actually am very proud of. Again, we walked in and it was about 350, peaking almost at 400,000. And as we started recording, I'm big on data. I record every interaction with every veteran. So if that veteran ever comes back to my office, I have a historical data, like listing of what they did.
Right, yeah.
Every time, and my whole staff is trained to do this. So when someone comes in, we pull them up on our platform, we put in their details. It's a lot of case management, which is why you need full-time employees to do just that part alone. It's quite a bit. But as our numbers started going up in VA claims, there's a corresponding number of the Chapter 115 numbers going quite down. And in Holyoke, like I said, that's pretty significant. The other thing that our city offers is fully bilingual staff in English and Spanish. So, in that case, if we ever have someone who's not, English is not their primary language and Spanish is, then we can fill that role as well.
Always helpful.
Yeah.
So I know from your letter, Mike, you said you need an answer from the board by late October, early November, right?
Yes, because the other 2 communities, Amherst and Hadley, they have to leave their current district by January 1st. Like, they have to submit a letter of intent to leave. So we would need, when we leave from here, knowing that you guys are interested in that, you're considering moving forward, like, that's what we need to go to Hadley and Amherst and say, all right, we're 3 of 5 now, right? Because we've already met, I've met with South Hadley's or their president of the select board now, chairman of the select board, and another member. They're 100% behind bringing it. We're going to South Hadley Select Board. And even when you look at South Hadley, just when you talk about cost analysis, so it's another over 10 grand for South Hadley alone, right? And they have one of the best VSOs in Massachusetts. Right?
That's what I hear.
But I'm a one
The gentleman
person.
behind you might
Yeah, I
give
know,
you-
right? But I'm a one person office, so the conversation's already started. Like, I need an investigator and admin, and then what does that cost? Whereas if we create this district, we have 4 full 35-hour FTE employees. We don't need that. So yeah, it's 10 grand now, but it's saving 30 or 40 grand for us.
It makes sense, just based on the services. I mean, you put a price tag on that, it's a lot more than $10.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And dollar for dollar,
Yeah.
you're gonna make your money back, and it's way more than that, in all honesty.
And I know a couple of veterans who don't access any of this because it's too much for them to do on their own.
Oh yeah, I mean, the VA system is a nightmare.
Yeah.
I was in an MMA meeting, and they were talking about a bill that removes 115 from municipal government and puts it all up at the federal level, which is tough because that may can what we do, right? Because if the law doesn't say that communities have to have VSOs, some of them aren't going to have them. They don't put the value there. So what I said in that meeting was, like, I challenge any one of these MMA people who are sitting in this room, like, go in the VA system and try to apply for anything. The slightest error is going to shoestring it until someone finds it, and then you get somebody to fix it. It's a nightmare. So to have people who are fully accredited, constantly staying re-educated or containing or accomplishing their continuing education credits is vital, because the system changes all the time. And if the VA won't take an old form, so if they change the form and you submitted one that somebody printed for you 2 months ago, they're not even going to look at it. So it's knowing all of those things that are key.
Which is important because it stops people from getting frustrated.
Yeah, and then just saying, I quit, because I get that a lot. Like, oh, I tried to do the VA system when I came back and I couldn't get through it. Okay, well, that sucks, and it's a tough system.
Yeah.
But if we go back to the table, like, the change is there, the ability to access is there. Like, we will get you through that process. But it's having the people who know how to do it. And Jesus is amazing. What Holyoke has done, you don't see in very many places, but it's because they switched that focus. They're like, 115 is the emergency. You come in the door, I can help you today. The VA is the long-term betterment for your life, and for your family. If your dad was 100% service connected and your mom was alive after he had passed, those benefits roll over, the health care. Or if the veteran's disabled enough to require a caregiver, that family member, spouse, child, can be paid by the VA, so that vet can stay in-house, and finish their life out where they want to and not end up in a long-term care facility. So that's where we're at.
I just had a question. What's a grave officer? Graves officers?
Okay, so every community is required to have a graves officer. It's someone who's making sure that when veterans are interned in your community, that they're done properly, and that their headstone and the area is being taken care of over the years.
Okay.
So I currently have a graves officer in my office. We share the same platform. So our clerk's office delivers a list of veterans who've passed away with death certificates every month. We put them into our system. We record their cause of death. We record their location in the cemetery and what cemetery they're in for statistical purposes later, because if we see a trend of something happening, we can help file for claims for the family later, possibly. And then I also have a partnership with the Department of Transitional Assistance, where we get interns that come. They're transitioning out of transitional assistance to the workforce, and they're looking for soft skills. So they'll come into our office, they'll work for 5-6 months, and it's DTA pays for them to be in our office. So at any given time, I have 4 or 5 people in my office working. So with that, we've digitized all of our documents, all our military documents, through a couple grants that we've received over the years, and all this free labor that we've been able to find. We've been able to scan and digitize all these documents and put them into a system. So when you come in and ask me for, Uncle Steve's DD-214, I'm just pushing a couple buttons. I'm not looking through the card stock for the Dewey Decimal System to go into a filing cabinet. Again, I'm big on technology. It's sort of, we're government. I think we should be providing the best possible service. And when someone walks in the door and I have to spend 35 minutes looking for a document, I don't think that's the best use of anyone's time.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I think you can move on. And rest assured, I think you have the support of the select board.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So,
All right, we will be back.
think,
Oh.
Jeff, did you want to say something?
Yeah, can I say something? Move out the way. Good evening. Jeff Rule, Lynn Drive. The biggest thing for me is all of us up here as VSOs and past VSOs, our job and our passion is to take care of veterans. In the last 4 years, Granby's had 4 VSOs. That's not ideal. That trend will continue because as part-timers, we come and we go. So I think we owe it to our veterans to have that continuity of a district where even though a piece might leave, the district stays, so our veterans will always be serviced. They're not gonna have to figure out new days of the week because the new VSO came in and has a different program, meeting different areas. I think the district really makes sense for a small town. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, folks, appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
She's all in there. I'll come see you soon, all right?
All right, Kathy, moving into old business.
I really don't have
Yeah,
anything since last week.
Nothing since Mass DOT project,
No.
George Pond, dredging two-frame pond, the playground was the update last week.
Yep.
Two-frame park, the waste continues.
Yep.
The options on West Street building.
Nope, they didn't meet this week, so I, yeah.
The dog park.
I haven't heard any more.
Okay. Update in Five Corners, don't know anything else about that.
Nope.
MWRA, nothing on that.
Is that the water or
Yes.
sewer or the water going down to? Okay.
And I asked Chris for a senior work update. He didn't have anything at this moment, but he said he would recheck into it to see where that is. And an update on the building commissioner, ads have gone out, and he is waiting for the applications to come in.
We don't have an executive session at that
Nope.
time. So, with that said, does anybody have anything they want to bring up for our next meeting?
I know the West Street School Committee hasn't met yet. Or West Street Building Committee, I should say.
Okay.
It says school on here, but it's West Street Building Committee, right?
Yep.
So, one thing that was brought to my attention, is a vault for our paperwork. So according to the Mass General Law, we are supposed to have a vault for all of our paperwork that is temperature and humidity protected so that the paperwork doesn't get mildew or mold like it did in the past. Is that something that we can get a quote, or that they can get a quote on? Because we're gonna have to put in whether we renovate or we build a new one. And that's something that I didn't think about. And it was brought to my attention by someone in the town,
Yep.
that it's something that we will probably need. Well, we need it because it's Mass General Law, so.
Do we have one now?
No.
So we're violating the law, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, it's
What's
a
the
vault,
law?
but it's more of a.
Do you know the MGL?
It's a dry storage,
Hold on one
dry
second.
storage.
Yeah, hold on one second. I
Yeah,
have the
I-
paper.
We can turn the classroom into one of
Yeah,
those.
any state office or town or city falls in the same
And
thing.
it has to be certified though. Hold on one second.
So they can certified means they come in and inspect it.
Yeah.
Yeah. General.
So I have, it was page 48 in the Attorney General log. It says 439-10.
Mass General
Public
Law,
records.
44.
It doesn't say Mass General Law, hold on one second. It says Public Records, Preservation of Town Records, Duty of the Selectmen. It just says Attorney General 484 on here, but it says 439 here. So I'll look up what the Mass General Law is for us.
Well, Kathy, just reach out to Brian and just have Brian research it for us
All right,
and pull up exactly what is needed and what's required.
yep.
And that way we can make sure that,
That's part of the plan, yeah.
what is
Yeah.
that, going into it, yeah.
Okay.
I think that's important. But
Absolutely.
I mean, but-
Well, you've seen over the years that some of the documentation just from being words from the store.
it gets destroyed. The old, especially the old,
Telephone.
Yeah. Well, and it's,
no, the old phone company, I'm thinking, that old building.
some documentation has to be, I mean, there's a time frame set up for this particular documentation where some doesn't need to be, can be destroyed within a year, some are 50 years,
And some are
some are
indefinite.
years, and some are forever,
Yeah.
so.
We just get rid of some of the records of the probate, and they go back to the 1500s. It's
Oh,
amazing
really?
the writing on some of the records.
So your application for work was there?
Yeah. There was a group that came in and put everything on microfilm. So those records got,
Well, that's what
Throw it away.
a lot of places are trying to do now, because
Yeah.
it just takes up so much space.
So your next meeting will be Tuesday, September 5th.
Okay, so because of Labor Day, so our next meeting is Tuesday, September 5th at
Yes.
5:30.
30.
Okay. Anything else, folks?
we already had it in there.
All right. Well, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Is there a
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
None.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you.